Okay, we ready to go? All right. It is 11 a.m. on February 4th, Tuesday. We're going to begin this regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners.
Yes.
Still new at this.
You're crushing already.
Thank you. Okay.
Should we?
Oh yes, let's stand for the pledges of allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am plenty warm. It's like 60 degrees outside. Okay. Let's start with the approval of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda from the commissioners or the staff?
Yes, if we could remove item number 2, discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement between Lake County Sheriff's Office and the Chaffey County Sheriff's Office to set parameters for detention training. The IJ is just not ready yet, but I believe Sheriff Speckman can answer any questions if the commissioners have any.
Awesome. Okay. Look for a motion. Oh, not yet. Okay, then we ask for more. Any other changes, right?
One more, Janet is sick, so she won't be joining us this morning from the Cooper's office. So it will just be Justin.
Okay.
That should be the only changes.
Okay. Anything else? No? Alright, I look for a motion to approve the agenda with the noted changes.
I move to approve the agenda with the noted changes.
I'll second the
Alright,
motion.
so moved. Call for a vote,
Yes.
agenda.
Aye.
Aye, alright. That motion passes on a unanimous vote. Alright. Let's move to any important community information items that commissioners would like to share. Anyone have anything for the moment?
No.
How about you, Commissioner Bullock?
No, I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. Alright. Public comment is not on the agenda today, but is there anyone in the room or online who would like to provide up to 3 minutes of public comment for any issue not listed on the agenda? Your hand raised?
Yes.
Yes. So yes, them two.
Okay, Tina, go ahead.
They have to state their name in there.
Will you please
Okay.
state your name and your residence?
So it's Tina Tkancic and I live in Leadville. And I just have some questions that I'm gonna ask and then I will email them to you for your response. First one's on the Harrison ball field. There are documents proving the agreement between Lake County and Galt where it is for recreational purposes.
Tina, we're having trouble hearing you. Can you
Right.
speak
Hold
up a
on.
little bit or into the phone?
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Hold on just a sec.
No, it's me. I might just have to send it through.
That's better, now we can hear you,
Oh, okay.
loud and clear.
Now you're, okay, so the Harrison ball field, there are documents proving that there is an agreement between Lake County and Galbraith where it is to remain for recreational purposes. The nonprofits are a tangled web that are using our tax dollars to fund their positions in order to rectify that we need this affordable housing. I have asked for proof to show why we need affordable housing. I want to know why the public's restricted from all these meetings that we do not have any say. Next thing I questioned was the committees that are formed, like this Community Builders, Community One, headed by Clark Anderson, who lives in Glenwood Springs, is a developer. Why are we getting involved with developers? Because the only way the developers will succeed is by your TIF, which is your tax incremental funding that does the financing for the developers, goes into like the urban renewal did for the rail yard, instead of coming back to the taxpayers. And then I just want to tell you is that just because they put a resolution in front of you, or they ask that you guys vote on something, that time is of the essence, you do know that you guys have the right to table it for further discussion and further investigation. My thing is, we elected you guys, you were gonna listen to the community, our information, but yet we're being silenced because a lot of these committees are out there saying that the information put out by us is insufficient and it's wrong. But yet nobody has been able to prove us wrong. Nobody answers for the documents that we've requested. So, we can recall you. Do we want to? No, but it's like you guys promised you would work for us and listen to us. And that's what I expect. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Tina.
There's another hand raised.
All right, let's move to the next question. Kim H. Go ahead, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Kim Hastings and I live in Leadville, Tabor Drive. So I wanted to just say about the affordable housing, Harrison Field. I don't really understand. I'm confused on why we're still moving forward on the affordable housing when my understanding was we didn't have enough participants to move forward with it, or applications. And we also gave applications to Chaffey County, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Chaffey County, Eagle County, and also Aurora. I mean, why are people buying affordable housing from Aurora in Leadville? If Elsa's shaking her head, so if you can tell me that we didn't offer it to Aurora, because that's what it said in the documents. But I feel like we're just trying to make ourselves more of a bedroom community than actually promoting our town as a viable area to live and work. Bedroom communities have people that go and shop at different locations. They buy their gas, they buy their groceries. Everything is spent outside our community. So I feel like the previous board was pushing this issue when there weren't enough applications and we lost, correct me if I'm wrong, $53,000 to the developer because we didn't have those applications. So I don't really understand why there's this push when we don't have people that are applying for it. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Kim. Okay, who do we have next? Ryan Hill, go ahead and state your name and your address, please.
Hey, Ryan Hill, nice meeting you guys. I live off of East 15th. So my question is more so that, in line with much of this development, including the ball field. I would like to know more because, I've been a part of several different meetings and across different departments, and it seems like when the community actually understands what's going on, you do receive feedback. Even when we were in December and saw the sanctuary city status, I think the biggest challenge that people have right now is that they are becoming aware of what's actually happening and they do not like it. And any of the meetings that have been held, it's as if the train has already left and we are just having to pick which option we like when we, really don't approve of any of them. So my question is more so around at what point will the advisory, or excuse me, will the housing authority, will the BOCC actually be clear on the things that they're doing, not send mixed messages, and ultimately allow the community to have a voice? Because, we have a beautiful park as an example, and to turn it into something urban, my wife and I were having kids. That is a big part of our community, and being on other things like the rec board, we really don't have too much funding going there, but yet we are trying to grow when their demand isn't there for this housing stuff. So it's a question and a comment, but I would absolutely recommend we not make any haste decisions, even in light of all the things that have happened in the meetings that have occurred, because the community, from what I've seen, does not support this.
All
Thank you.
right, thanks, Ryan. Okay, who we got next? Smith D, could you go ahead and just state your name and your address, please?
Diane Smith, my husband and I live down County Road 36.
Okay,
You want my comments?
yes, please.
Okay. I listened to the work session on Friday. I have been working with PB Swims and worked on the ballot initiative. And I think this got straightened out, but my audio wasn't completely clear. I think a question was raised about being able to use the tax money that's being raised for any purpose, for a purpose like servicing a bond. I think it got clarified that that cannot happen, that the bond language is very specific, that the initiative was very specific, and it wasn't a city council initiative. That was a citizens initiative. The language was, we created the language, we got the language approved, got the language put on the ballot, and that money can't be used for anything else. And I hope that got clarified at the meeting later on. I couldn't tell. And then just a very quick aside, would you advise the administrative people for your board that they haven't updated the number, when you call the county commissioners number, you get a menu and it lists to contact the old 3 commissioners, not you guys. So that's going to be confusing to people trying to reach you. That's all.
Great, thanks for pointing that out. Okay, next, we got Patty. Patty, go ahead and state your name and your address, please.
Hey, hi, good morning, everyone. This is Patty Nagel. I live down County Road 36 as well as Diane. I am requesting that the BOCC table any and all decisions regarding housing at Harrison Ball Field. I am asking you to not approve any funding or letters of intent or anything for this project until more communication, a town hall perhaps is done with the public, with the community. There are more people against this whole project than you guys realize. In November at a meeting, we were told that there was not any decisions to be made on this project. And that seems to not be the case right now. I'm just asking you to please take a pause and consider all options before you make any binding decisions, especially with our money. Thank you.
All right, duly noted. Thank you, Patty. we have anyone else who would like to have public comment? That's it?
Diane had one, I
Okay.
don't see any others.
There's definitely nothing written in stone yet with the Harrison Park project. This is all still up for, information sharing, decision making, and there will definitely be a lot of that coming up in the future here. I think, we've taken to heart that the community does have a lot of concerns about Harrison Field, and we will take that into account with any decisions that we make. So thanks everyone for chiming in. That's definitely very helpful for us. Alright,
Maybe we should clarify that the decision we're talking about today is for the two projects on Sixth and Third. And maybe you can help, Tim, this decision is really an engagement. Can you just clarify?
For the agenda items today.
Yeah, for the agenda items today, so that people don't confuse them with any Harrison Field
Sure.
decisions.
Yes, so agenda items 7, 8, and 9 are related to the housing at 10,200 feet, the housing projects on West 3rd and West 6th. And then agenda item number 6 is the resolution supporting the housing needs assessment, which is posted on our website. Will be posted on the website, so you can read about the housing needs assessment that was completed over the past year, 2024.
okay, there's one comment, on the chat that I will read aloud, just, to make sure everyone's voice is heard here. We have a comment from, Melanie Wigan, that she would like to state that urban renewal is synonymous with gentrification, according to Jane Jacobs and James Baldwin, who I believe are authors on the subject. Why do we keep funding these types of nonprofits through taxpayer money? And we will take those questions to staff and see if we can come up with answers for you, Mel.
Chair, could we direct staff, as I'm thinking especially, our building and land use staff to reach out to these folks individually to make sure that they're getting answers from the county government, since there are probably questions that they have that we won't be able to speak to directly.
Yeah, we can do that for sure. Let's, how do we
Are there any,
find contact information?
are there any emails that we don't have of those folks? Or phone numbers?
I don't know. I
Okay,
think I have Diane and Patty and Tina's. We can also create an FAQ from today's questions, and post that. I think, I don't have Kim's info. But if folks online are alright with that, I can, when we develop the FAQ, we can email that directly and then put it on the website.
Okay,
Post about it.
can we also have some form of, a space where questions can be directed towards appropriate staff online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I guess just being directing people into the right spaces where they can get the answers they're seeking and share information that they have with us that might be relevant to, some of the procedures moving forward, I guess.
And I like the idea of a town hall with everybody involved.
Yep.
And also people who can really answer the questions. And just for the record, I'm new to this, and I think we all are. And I don't think any of us have made any decisions or, personally speaking, I'm not for it or against it. But I know a lot of work has gone into it. And I didn't really realize how much opposition there is. I think a town hall's appropriate and probably necessary. So,
Yeah.
we appreciate the comments, but, I promise not to make any decisions until we have a a proper town hall or two.
I can,
Sam,
Yeah,
work with community planning and development staff and then commissioner's schedules for an evening town hall. And we'll have staff in the SE group there, to be able to answer any and all questions.
that'd be great. I'm sure,
With a breakdown of the finances too, what's taxpayer dollars and what's, grant money, thank you.
yeah.
What came from DOLA, all that stuff, cause I think there's a lot of misconception about where the money's coming from, and then also, who's gonna get the housing. It needs to be really informative and, hash it out.
Yeah, as we're, figuring out our roles here and how this whole thing works, we do have the core commitment to be better engaging with the community, so I just wanna remind folks that how everything appears right now is us just trying to learn how all this works and, tread water while we're being drowned in information. So we all do have that commitment to improve engagement with the community. So thanks everyone for your input. If we're done with, community input, then, we are going to move on to agenda item 1, unless no other hands are raised. Okay. Alright, let's move on. Agenda item 1.
Sure, Justin Kurth is our regional representative from Representative Brittany Petterson's office. He wanted to reach out and engage with the board, so I will turn it over to you, Justin, to talk about what you do for our community.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, let me say, happy to make your acquaintances, all the new commissioners. Congratulations on your elections, but also look forward to meeting you all in person. And the Congresswoman does as well. A few things I want to hit on are related to fire mitigation and let's see, and of course a few elephants in the room. On the fire mitigation front, there is House Resolution 471, or better known as the Fix Our Forests Act, which included some post-disaster reforestation and restoration measures introduced by the Congresswoman, which passed out of the House with bipartisan support. It specifically would require the Department of Interior to coordinate with states and local governments and tribes and colleges even to identify critical lands in need of rehabilitation, and especially after natural disasters. It would also support projects through grants, contracts, or cooperative agreements. Then a portion of that Fix Our Forest Act also, an amendment that the Congresswoman got through with Representative Obernolte, would add low Earth orbit satellites to the public-private wildfire technology testbed program, basically leveraging the tech of today and of tomorrow to be able to pinpoint where these hotspots might be before they're detectable by the human eye. Again, that passed out of the House. Something where the Congresswoman's office is still working to get through the House is the proxy voting resolution, which she put in front of the Speaker and is working on a discharge petition to get to the House floor that would allow new parents to vote by proxy after the birth of a child. And she's working on, again, the office is working on getting enough signatures for that discharge petition so that it's voted on the floor as we hit a wall with the Speaker's office on that. While the Congresswoman's on maternity leave, the office still remains operational. In fact, the Congresswoman's still able to submit bills. She's just limited from voting on them until the success of that proxy resolution. The office is still holding, mobile office hours around the communities. We're still taking care of constituents' concerns with federal agencies, and of course, fielding, many calls of late, which leads me to my next item. We've heard quite a bit from constituents concerned about the pause on federal loans and grants, though there is a temporary injunction on that. The Congresswoman's deeply concerned about how that might impact critical services to many Coloradans and residents of Lake County as well. And so what we're doing is we're working with state and local officials to learn more about that impact that directive would have if it's allowed to go forward, including, our local nonprofits, hospitals, schools, law enforcement, et cetera. But the office and the Congresswoman are committed to protecting those critical programs that were enacted into law, many on a bipartisan basis, to help our communities. So we're going to continue to try to provide updates on as we learn more. Some of that stuff's pretty got a lot of whiplash to it. Seems like there's a position taken and then position changed within a short amount of time. So we're working on being as responsive as we can. I think I want to leave it, with addressing one more elephant in the room here, is that the Congresswoman is deeply concerned about the power that President Trump has given to Elon Musk and his team. And this is something we've received over 100 calls on yesterday, just in one day. The Congresswoman is doing everything in her power to fight back and is exploring legislative options to prevent unelected billionaires like him from accessing sensitive data. If you have any questions or your constituents have questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to either of the three offices, the DC, Lakewood, or Canyon City, where I reside. So happy to take any questions from the commissioners or anyone else in the room there needed to. In the meantime, you can reach me by phone or email. Happy to set up appointments with others. The last thing I want to share is that we're exploring a couple of engagement events here. It'll be myself getting up to Lake County later this month, so I'll have more information on that as it develops.
All right. Thanks, Justin. That's all helpful, informative. Thanks. Is there any comments or questions from either of the other commissioners for Justin?
None for me.
All right. Then, without Janeth, are we moving on to that, or are we skipping that?
Yeah, we're moving on from it, she's sick, so she won't be joining us, but yeah, so it was just an introduction and updates.
Okay. All right. If nothing else from the other commissioners, then we will move on to agenda item 2. Hey, thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Agenda item 2 is a discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement between. Oh, we're skipping that one. That's right.
But if you do,
Unless
Right. Okay. Well, limited discussion and consideration with what we've got to work with here between Lake County Sheriff's Office and Chaffey County Sheriff's Office, and setting the parameters for detention training led by Sheriff Speckman.
Yes,
Sure.
good morning, and I'm happy just to wait till we're all done with this, but I just wanted to make myself available in case there was any specific questions. But essentially, we're just waiting to hear back from Chaffey County on their comments with the agreement before we present to you guys
Great.
fully. So if you have any questions about what we're trying to do, if you want to discuss that now or later, whatever's fine.
Okay, do you guys have any questions for Sheriff Speckman now? Okay, I think,
No, thanks, Heath.
cool, we'll table this until we have all the information we need to discuss this subject deeper.
Thank you, Heath.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks to our legal team too, they produced this very fast, so there were some delays in me getting it into Chaffey County's hands, so thank you for all you do.
Cool,
Thanks, Chris.
Alright, thanks guys.
alright, thanks. Alright, so we don't need a motion on that. Agenda item number 3, moving on to that, is the discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with Jeremiah Fernandez Johnson Consulting LLC for a Lake County Commissioner Team Building and Strategic Planning Retreat led by Tim Bergman, Tim, please introduce yourself and proceed with your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Tim Bergman. I serve as the Lake County Manager. So what is before you is a professional services agreement with Dr. Jeremiah Johnson for facilitation services for the Lake County Board of County Commissioners retreat on February 19th and 20th. So as you all have been drinking from the fire hose and learning the ropes of Lake County government, we propose doing a board retreat to be facilitated by Dr. Johnson to bring the board together to work on strategies for this year and then long-range plans and then developing the board's priorities, mission and vision and things like that. And I would turn it over to Lauren if you have any further questions.
Are there?
I have no question.
I have comments, a little more so than questions. I just want to make it clear that the word retreat sounds like a vacation, and
Right.
these things
It is
are not a vacation. We're stacked with, we're in the unique situation of having 3 new board commissioners at the exact same time, which has never happened in the history of Lake County. I think except for when there was first ever county board of commissioners. So we're doing everything we can to catch up and learn as fast as we can, and it's an immense amount of knowledge to undertake. So I just don't want anyone to get the idea that we're going on a retreat as this is some kind of vacation. That is really all I wanna add to this.
Yes, it'll be 2 very long days of working on the strategic vision that the board has for this community.
Great, alright. Anything from you, Commissioner Bullock?
Yeah, I'd also like to reiterate what you said, that it is taxpayer money, but we were elected to represent everybody, and the more we can learn, the better off we're gonna be. So I wanna be, sensitive to people's critiques of spending taxpayer dollars on these types of things, but in this case, if we find it unnecessary, after this, then maybe we don't go forward in the following years, but I think it's important for us to gather as much information and education as we can, so that's all I have.
Okay. Alright, is there a motion to, let's say table?
No, D, is there a motion on the table?
Oh, is there a motion on the table, not to table, on the table for agenda item 3?
I move to approve the PSA with Jeremiah Fernandez, Johnson Consulting LLC for the Lake County Commissioner Team Building and Strategic Planning Retreat.
I'll second the motion.
Alright, any further discussion of the motion?
For me.
Alright. No? Okay, let's call a vote.
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes on a unanimous vote. Alright, moving on, agenda item number 4 is the discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with Gillians Land Consultants to provide plat reviews for the Lake County Community Planning and Development, led by Ann Schneider. Ann, could you please introduce yourself and proceed with your comments?
Thank you. I'm Ann Schneider, Director of Community Planning and Development. And so our request before you today is to be able to enter into a professional service agreement with Rob Harris and Gillian Land Consulting to be able to do a peer review on any new plats that are created prior to recording. So this was a practice that we did within the department in long standing, up until the time that surveyors' time was so limited that we weren't able to engage with a surveyor. So excited to try to bring this best practice back into place. And so what we specifically use them for is any kind of administrative review and approval process downstairs, so lot consolidations, lot line adjustments, And what this effectively does is just get that second pair of eyes before we record these plats in perpetuity. It's a really beneficial practice, and it's also a pass-through expense. So the applicant, our fees for lot consolidations are under $200, so we have very nominal fees. So this additional cost to the applicant isn't exorbitant, and well worth it. So that was the question and ask today if we could put this best practice back in play. We do have a not to exceed amount of $7,500. It does come from time to time, certain projects are asked, right now there's some conversation around a dedication plat, that we may have other items that we might want to engage with Mr. Harris on, and so we did submit a not to exceed amount in case there might be a slight modification to the scope of work that would be beneficial and something that would come before the county.
Could you just kind of bullet point how this is going to, like, I apologize if that went over my head, but it sort of feels like, what is the pros and cons of like how we had been doing it versus, and maybe you know land stuff, or you know building.
It's very much quality control. It's ensuring that that we, these peer reviews typically take about an hour, but things get missed. And just like in construction documents, as you know, even construction ready documents, sometimes when you have a template kind of version, it might reference Summit County instead of Lake County. It might be off a little bit. There might be just it can catch clerical errors, it can catch surveying discrepancies. We're all human, mistakes can happen, but when we record new plats, they are a forever kind of document. These are not, so it's really creating quality control. It is something that surveyors in the past, when we did this practice previously, when we were able to engage and find a surveyor that had the time to do it, even other surveyors came to kind of rely on it. The sense that there was a second pair of eyes on their work. As they get very busy, sometimes they don't even have that capacity on staff within their firms. So they really, even most surveyors that we work with, kind of like the idea that we did have this kind of quality control, especially when they are incredibly busy out in the field. And so if they don't have someone that's kind of in the office that maybe they can shoot something to just make sure that everything is 100% accurate. So it's a practice that I would say is used widely throughout any land use department. And it's just that the only reason that we weren't doing it for a period of time is that we couldn't find the capacity available from the surveying resources that we had locally. So we had an opportunity to find a surveyor that could do it, but long-standing it had been done. We used to have Chad Malier, who actually kind of worked at the courthouse and did a lot of this work when I first joined the county. After that, we had Blue River Surveying that did it. Blue River moved out of the area. Then we had Landmark doing it. Landmark came in and just don't have the capacity to do it anymore. So it's only been a gap of time. So the pro is better quality work, ensuring that what we record in new plans is accurate and done, and it really is a best practice. And the only reason that we weren't doing it is just that we weren't able to find the capacity available in a surveyor to provide it. So it's really kind of been a missing piece. And again, the cost, our land use fees for platting applications is probably a third of what you're gonna find in any other jurisdiction in the surrounding area. So we're not increasing cost to the public in an exorbitant way. And we've got quality plus we are incrementally, as I think I told you, we're slowly increasing those land use fees, but they sat dormant for decades. So.
What happens when we do these things wrong? Like, what kind of headache arises when,
Sure.
yeah, like, to
Once you record a document, it is in perpetuity. you can't rescind it and fix it and re-record it. So now you're looking at having to redo the plat and reference the old plat, and my recorder gets very upset about stuff like that. So you really want it, and we are not allowed to correct anything, we record what we receive. So the more accurate, the better our final document will be.
Okay, and this,
It also has a bearing on site design, site planning, further construction and development of that parcel that we just newly created. So if there is errors in that, it can have long lasting effects.
okay, that was my next kind of question. So eliminating these kinds of errors or taking steps to ensure we don't make them in the future helps the landowners, helps the community from having to deal with the headaches of having their plats recorded wrong.
Correct.
Okay, that's all my questions. Is there any other questions or comments from other commissioners?
I'd like to also say that if it limits the liability of the builders and the county, if one of these things gets, if your lot line is a little off and someone builds over their easement or over the lot line, then the county could be liable in a lawsuit, so. And let me understand, it's paid for by whoever wants to develop the lot. It's not paid for by the counties, it's a pass-through fee, and it makes sense to me, and if this company's willing to do it, I say we hire.
Great. Is there a motion on the table for agenda item number 4?
I move to approve the professional services agreement PSA with Gillians Land Consultants to complete plat reviews for Lake County Community Planning and Development, CPD.
You second
I'll
that?
second that motion.
Alright, if there's no other further discussion, let's call for a vote on that.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes on a vote of 3-3, unanimous vote. Alright, moving on, agenda item number 5 is a discussion and consideration for a professional services agreement with MGT of America Consulting LLC for a yearly two Code of Federal Regulations, CFR Part 200, Cost Allocation Plan. This is led by Candace Bryans. Candace, could you please introduce yourself and proceed with your comments?
Yeah, I'm Candace Bryans and I'm the Lake County Finance Director. Last year MGT provided Lake County with a 200 CFR cost allocation plan for fiscal year 2023 that was deliverable in 2024. This agreement that we're talking about today is from 2024 and will extend through 2027 to be reviewed each year, of course. So essentially what happens is Colorado is one of the states that tasks counties with operating and administrating human services programs. In general terms, the state funds 80% of those costs, with the county covering the remaining 20% of human services costs. The state recognizes that there are administrative and support costs incurred by counties in addition to actual programming costs. As long as we provide a 2 CFR Part 200 compliant cost allocation plan, they will reimburse up to 29% of those costs. So in 2023, we received $204,276 for turning in our cost allocation plan, and then last year we received $168,957 back in exchange for providing that plan. So that plan essentially gets that reimbursement back to us from the state. And so the cost for an FY24, so they're assessing the year of 24 to provide the allocation amounts for 25, or in the year of 25 would be $9,000. Any questions?
there any comment or questions from the other commissioners about this?
Where does the money come from? Is that in your budget or does that come from whose budget is the,
It's in our professional services budget.
okay. That's the only question I have. Sounds like a good return on your money.
Yes.
Alright, is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion, to. Elsa, you're better at those motions.
It's letter E, do letter E,
Thank you.
you got it.
I move to approve the professional services agreement with MGT America Consulting LLC for yearly,
And then go up to the
Consulting.
top, go up to the top. of
for
that
year. To code of federal regulations, part 200 cost allocation plan. Thank you.
item. Seconded,
Alright, it's called to a vote.
okay?
Aye.
Aye, alright, that motion passes on a unanimous vote. Alright, moving on, item number 6 is the discussion and consideration of the adoption of resolution 2025-06. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County of Lake, supporting the Root Policy Research Housing Needs Assessment, led by Jackie Wellahan. Jackie, please introduce yourself and proceed with your comments.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackie Gillians, I'm the Lake County Housing Program Manager. And you had the presentation by Root Policy Research last week. And so this is a resolution, this was done in the past, in 2018, when the previous housing needs assessment was conducted. The commissioners memorialized the assessment by signing off on the resolution. So just to give some background, housing needs assessments need to be conducted every 6 years as mandated by DOLA. And this impacts our ability to pursue grant funding as well. And also helps us stay on track with what the demand is in the community. So we just respectfully ask that the commissioners please memorialize the support of this housing needs assessment by the resolution 2025-06. Thank you.
Do we have any comments or questions from the commissioners?
I do. What does that mean, we're memorializing, or what does that mean exactly?
Just that you're stating on the record, so basically the housing needs assessment was funded through a grant and also by the county commissioners. And you're just recognizing that you support this document.
Yeah.
So this is not another study or assessment, this
No,
is
this is
just
not.
recognizing the previous one that's already been done, okay.
It's mandated by law, or at least by the rules of DOLA.
Yeah, DOLA wants you to do it every 6 years, so the last one was done in 2018, this one was completed in 2024, so we're right on track.
Cool,
Thank you, Jackie.
thanks.
I just wanna say, when our constituents have questions about how do we know that we need housing in this community, this is the document that we can turn to that is so well researched and professionally done, that helps bring to the fore things that people might not see, but that our community is experiencing. So when our constituents come to us and they say, how do we know that Lake County needs housing? We can say, well, we know because of this document. And while it is a very long document, it's like 300 pages, 200?
180.
Oh, 100, it felt like 300. It's a very long document, but we have also had a work session on this that the community can watch, and they could even look through the presentation. So I just wanna make a plug for the people who are asking about what's going on, that they can go to, we've got a page under Lake County Government that says Lake County Government 101, and that's all the information that the three of us have received. You can go online and watch all of the YouTube, so if there's a specific topic that you wanna watch, you can see us engaging with that information as well, and the housing needs assessment is one of those things. So, If 180 pages is not what's right for you to learn, then going to the Lake County 101 is a great place to start understanding what the needs of our community are and why so many partners and entities have been talking about housing. It's not just a trendy thing to talk about, it's a real thing.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Cool. Table motion. Is there a motion on the table for agenda item 6?
Do you wanna do it again, Matt?
Yeah, why don't you go?
Okay.
I'll go every other.
Okay, I move to adopt the resolution 2025-06, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lake supporting the Root Policy Research Housing Needs Assessment.
I'll second the motion.
Alright, let's call that to a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Alright, moving on, agenda item 7. Discussion and consideration of deed restrictions to be applied to the housing at 10,200 feet project. Led by Jackie Wellahan. Jackie, please introduce yourself again and proceed with your comments.
Thank you so much. My name is Jackie Gillian. I'm the Lake County Housing Program Manager. So a little bit of background on this item is that the county is in the process of developing 2 infill sites to build 24 duplex homes. And since we received funding from DOLA, it is imperative that we keep the houses affordable in the future, not just for the first buyers. And so the deed restriction is the instrument that does that. So today, we're asking that you approve the deed restriction. We're not going to record it until we transfer it. So that's an important part of this. But the draft is attached in your packet. And basically, it is outlining the fact that the units stay affordable at 140% of area median income or less. And that's a mandate by our funding. So DOLA has required that. And then also there is a 2% cap on what a buyer can sell the house for in the future per year. So they won't, and that's in perpetuity, so they won't be able to sell the house in 30 years at market rate. It will go up by 2% per year.
Okay, any of the commissioners wanna speak on this? Questions, comments?
So is there a work requirement? Is this part of the draft? Is there a work requirement in Lake County or a work requirement in general?
So there's, yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. It's in your packet. And so I've also included in your packet the community housing guidelines, which defines some of the key terms, so that if you have any questions about, who is a qualified buyer or owner, it's in there. And then if we look at the deed restriction, so one of the restrictions for an owner, they have to occupy it as their sole residence during the period that it's owned by them. So in other words, it can't become a short-term rental, it has to be their primary residence. And then, let's see what else. They're not to engage in any business activity in the unit other than is permitted by the community housing guidelines. They have to, when they sell the property, the deed restriction, just so you understand how deed restriction works, it stays with the land, it follows the land. So it's there with it in perpetuity. The housing guidelines may be adjusted, but the deed restriction cannot be. They have to meet the residency, employment, and other requirements of the qualified buyer as established by the community housing guidelines. To answer your question, yeah. And then recertification, employment, residency, and ownership of the unit as set forth by the community housing guidelines. So it's been very well vetted. So the housing authority worked on the community housing guidelines for about 2.5 years, and worked with a consultant who was Summit County's housing authority director And also, then she moved to Gunnison for a number of years and has gone through many of these projects. And these guidelines were taken from that community, so they've been well vetted and well used.
With good results.
Mhm.
So we've gone over this in the work sessions, and it's basically just ensuring that we don't have like out of area investors or whoever can get into these things, buying them and then selling them for twice of what they paid for, since they're intended to be affordable and help the community out. So, we've gone over, a lot of the points of this, and I feel pretty good about it. Anything else?
Jackie, while you're here, do you mind, since we had some public questions about this, do you mind just giving us an update as to how many people have applied for all 24?
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit in the public comments, I think there's some confusion about what projects we're talking about. I think there's a little bit of overlap between Housing at 10-200, which is this project, which is the building of 24 units. And then the other conversation is about Harrison Park. Harrison is basically going through a master planning process, which is just to see what is appropriate and possible on that site in terms of housing and other things. So that's in a planning process. There has been no action taken in terms of moving forward with development. This other project, which as you described was on West 3rd and West 6th Street, will be the home of these 24 units. This deed restriction will be applied to those units. And yes, it's very important. There's been a lot of money that's gone into this, both from the city, the county. Parkville Water has reduced tap fees. We've got an enormous amount of money from DOLA to bring the infrastructure to these two sites to develop this housing. And we want to make sure that it remains affordable into the future. As I said before, not just for today's buyers, but for future buyers.
And how many applicants do we have for the remaining?
So we had 166 people express interest in the project. We had 21 full-blown applications. The applications consisted of 2 years of tax returns and 3 months of bank statements, pay stubs, a pre-qualification letter from a lender indicating that they could qualify for a mortgage. And we anticipate with potentially a new developer building all 24 units and having a second lottery for the units that don't sell during this first lottery and build.
We have procedures in place to ensure people will be living in these full time.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a restriction. This deed restriction mandates that it's owner occupied. It cannot be a second home buyer. And in fact, I think it's important to know that every single applicant that applied for this housing lives in Lake County. So there's nobody coming in from another community and wanting to purchase one of these units. They all have local addresses, Lake County addresses.
That's huge.
Jackie, just a quick logistical question. When it comes to paying property taxes on these homes, does the deed restriction also restrict the amount that they'd be assessed at? Since they can't be assessed at a higher value, they couldn't be sold at a higher value, so their property taxes will also stay a little more
Correct.
stable. Okay,
Correct.
just double checking.
Correct,
Thank
I've had that conversation with the assessor.
Great.
And he's very familiar with deed restricted properties from his experience in Summit County, and yes, it needs to match because the
Excellent.
homes will remain below market.
Thank you.
I just got a couple things. One is we should keep in mind that these are our neighbors. They're teachers, they're firemen, they're policemen, they're your servers. These are our neighbors and people that we want to stay in the community. And then I'd just like to touch on one of the previous comments about, the money that was spent on the previous developer, and that was this project. And certainly we should own up to that mistake, because that was a mistake. And as far as I understand it, he kind of took everybody for a ride, and maybe I'm misstating, but so we're gonna keep a closer eye on that kind of stuff moving forward. But I think we should admit our mistakes and not sweep those under the rug and try and avoid them in the future. It's the only way we can avoid them in the future is to talk about them what went wrong, you know, why was he selected over maybe a more qualified builder with deeper pockets? His whole plan was contingent on a loan, on borrowing money, whereas the new applicant, they're such a big home builder, they don't need to borrow any money, so. I just wanted to make sure people understood that, yeah, there were definitely mistakes made, by that first builder.
Commissioner Bullock, if I may chime in on that,
Yes.
those mistakes are being addressed, if you want to characterize them as such. We are still holding that initial developer to his contractual obligations. So, my goal is to make sure that the county did not pay that money for nothing.
Okay.
And so we are working towards getting the deliverables that we are entitled to,
That's the design work and the
website and stuff like
website.
that, yeah.
We also had a work session on it, if people are interested. And Michael Yerman took full accountability for that mistake, which I appreciated. So if people are curious about Oakwood Homes, Berkshire Hathaway, what product we're getting, how the developer is financing it, the mistake that was made, or the whatever hiccup mistake that was made that definitely needed to be accounted for, that's also in our work sessions. And we're also our operations team is working on making sure that those YouTube videos are not, they're we're sitting in these meetings for 4 hours, so you don't need to listen to 4 hours worth of content. We're trying to splice them up so you can hopefully specifically go look for, if you wanna hear the airport work session, hopefully you can find it a little more easier than in the past. But we're working on it, so I just wanna give a heads up that that's all been discussed in this room in public meeting, and you can find more information if you wanna dig into it.
Alright.
Can I say one thing before you make a motion?
Yeah,
So again, this is something that I would like you to approve, the deed restriction today, but again, not recording it until later when the property is transferred.
okay, so as far as the deed restrictions on 10-2, is there a motion on the table for agenda 7?
I move to approve the amended housing lottery guidelines.
Nope, still on before,
Sorry,
you're good.
move to approve the deed restrictions to be applied to the housing 10,200 feet project.
Seconded.
Alright, let's call that to a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Alright, that motion passes on a unanimous vote. Moving on, agenda item number 8. Excuse me, is the discussion and consideration of amended housing lottery guidelines, led by Jackie. Jackie, take it away.
Thank you, I'm Jackie Wilhan, Lake County Housing Program Manager. So we had, have to amend the guidelines. We had 18 applicants that were deemed qualified by an outside consultant to participate in the lottery. So we're going to have one lottery. It's happening on February 10th here in the courthouse in the upstairs county courtroom at 4 p.m. All eligible applicants have the opportunity to participate in the lottery. And so the way this will work is their name will be drawn when we have gotten down the road a little bit with the new developer. They will then, based on how they were drawn in this lottery, get to select their site and then also talk to the developer about which home they would like to have built.
Okay, and this is basically just a continuation of the same thing we did with the last ones, which yielded strictly Lake County residents getting into a affordable home.
Yeah, so these are, every single one of these applicants has a Leadville, Lake County address.
Great, I like that. Any questions, further discussion? Okay.
Well, I do wanna say, for people who haven't, or for our constituents who haven't watched maybe our work sessions on this, this is this is determined by the state, how this lottery goes. So yes, we're the ones doing it, but ultimately the state is the one who sets the rules. So Michael, will you correct me if I'm wrong? Is that correct understanding?
So you're correct in that when we took the state's money, they have AMI caps that are different than the what the guidelines allow. So basically we had to restrict the AMI allowances as well as essential providers to 25%. Not that we can only provide 25% of the units, but we were originally proposing a first lottery of tiered that would be for the 5 entities that participated in their employees. So this, again, there's 3 documents on every housing project. There's the community guidelines, which is the policy that is created by the community vision and is the administration after the lottery, especially for the resale or improvements made to the property or the questions around staying qualified to be in the property and your resale. Then you have the deed restriction, which is the actual legal instrument that is recorded against the land and is actually a property right the county holds over the land as a lien that keeps the cap and appreciation. And then the final thing is the guidelines for the lottery, which are always determined per project, and it's always going to be based on what kind of external funding was brought into the project. And so in this case, the DOLA incentives grant did put a cap of 140% AMI, and so we have to ensure that all the buyers that are now qualified for this lottery met those state guidelines, as well as the local guidelines, which are the employment restrictions as you guys were discussing.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion on anything else from either commissioner? Okay. Is there a motion on the table for agenda item 8?
I move to approve the amended housing lottery guidelines. Period.
Alright.
I will second the motion.
Alright, if nothing else, let's call a vote on this.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Alright. Moving on. Discussion and consideration of a letter of intent with Oakwood Homes. Led by Jackie. Jackie, again, introduce yourself and proceed with your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, I'm Jackie Gillians, the County Housing Program Manager. So yes, we have some bad news and we have some fantastic news. So unfortunately, things did not work out with Adam Berger. Adam Berger was unable to, his team was unable to secure the financing required to build all 24 units. The financing that he was pursuing mandated that he would have to have an oversubscription of buyers to units. So for his Chaffa financing, he was looking at having 2.5 times the number of buyers for units. So for 24 units, there was going to need to be 60 qualified applicants who went through the process with a pre-qual letter and everything from their lender. So with this project, with less buyers having applied, he was not going to be able to build the project fully at the 24 units. So we cut ties with the county commissioners, decided on December 20th at their meeting to not pursue a development agreement for the vertical component of the building of these units. He was under a professional service agreement for pre-development. So what's exciting about this opportunity is that Oakwood Homes was the second choice of the commissioners and the previous commissioners, and they liked Adam Berger's product that was a Bonnet Villa factory product better than they liked Oakwood Homes product. So Oakwood, in early conversations, has suggested that they will look into purchasing the same units so that we can stay on track with all the pre-development work that has taken place with the sites and then also with the units and build exactly what we had initially thought we were going to get. So they also have suggested that they could build all 24 units and that they have the ability to do their construction financing in-house, so they're not going to be pursuing financing through a bank or a lender, which right now with interest rates and everything else, all that gets passed on to the buyers. So we're so excited about this potential partnership. So before you today is a non-binding letter of intent that Chris has drafted to basically start negotiations with and start the conversation with Oakwood Homes about having them become our developer.
Alright, questions, comments, other commissioners?
I'd like to say that, the groundwork is done. We got a grant for the groundwork. We have 18 people that have given all their information. They're ready to buy a home. Again, these are your neighbors. And I'd also like to say that, just because you own a home here doesn't mean you get to shut the door behind you. And if you think this is easy sitting up here, you're wrong. It's not. And I think we need to give people an opportunity. And I'd also like to say that this project is, all the difficult work has been done, or at least the most part of it. So, if we were to just say no, as has been suggested in the comments, we'd be doing a real disservice to everybody that's worked on this. Then what? We let the ground sit there with the water and the sewer and all the money that's been put into it. So for me, no's not an option. It would be really disrespectful and counterproductive to what Jackie and everybody's trying to do here. So that's all I have.
I'd like to echo that too, and also point out that each one of these homes, this project that's been in the works for a really long time already, it isn't just adding a home. The people who are moving into these homes are locals, which means they're vacating another home, which adds more inventory. We are in a housing crisis, and we gotta find places for our ski patrollers, for our police officers, law enforcement, our locals. It's our community. Takes a village, and each one of these houses isn't just a house. It adds more inventory. So I think we need to keep that in mind as well, that what we're getting, our bang for our buck out of this isn't just each individual unit, it's the houses that'll be vacated by locals who are moving into these. Anything else?
Well said, both of you.
Alright. Hold on, let me find out where I'm at again on the Robert's Rules list. Thanks for giving me training wheels on this, cause I'm new at all this. Okay, is there a motion on the table for agenda item 9?
I move to approve a letter of intent for an agreement with Oakwood Homes, a limited professional agreement.
A second.
Alright, if there's no further discussion, I'll call a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright, that motion passes unanimously. Moving on, item number 10, discussion and review of the Lake County Manager job description. Led by Tim Bergman. Tim, introduce yourself and proceed with your comments.
Yes,
Thanks, Josh.
Hi,
Thank you,
Jackie.
Jackie.
My name is Tim Bergman. I serve as the Lake County Manager. I've also recently submitted my resignation. There's some life changes. But what I wanted to talk about with the board today was to review what the Lake County Manager job description looks like, make any edits, discuss the hiring process, what that looks like. For the community and for the commissioners and for Lake County government. And if you wanted to go through the job description together, happy to do that. Hopefully we clear up some perceptions of what it is that I do or what the manager role does. With that, does that sound alright? We review the job description and then review the hiring process?
Yeah.
Sure. So, in summary, the county manager, similar to county managers across the state and across the country, and of course, across all, a lot of cities have city administrators or managers. It's important to note that the term administrator and manager kind of interchangeable, there's not a real difference in those terminologies, but go with Lake County Manager. So in overview, right, I execute the vision set forth by the Board of County Commission. The manager sets forth the role in executing the vision set forth by the Board of County Commissioners, driving the county's mission to effectively serve the community. Continuing to build on a strong foundation of governance and management practices. And this position will, guide the county not as Lake County government, but also the Board of County Commissioners through evolving challenges and opportunities. The position will ensure the successful operation of all county departments, overseeing the delivery of vital services to residents, and working with elected officials, staff, and external agencies to foster a community-driven, innovative, and transparent environment. So part of, why I am joining and, this position, should the board see fit to do another board retreat, we're working on setting those priorities, right? Working with the board on implementing those long-term strategies to deliver operational excellence across departments. What you will look for in this role is someone with expertise in public administration, people management, project management, fiscal stewardship, budgeting, intergovernmental relations, and community engagement. One thing I didn't add in here in just the position summary, you are also looking for someone who is not ego-driven or trying to direct things or policy the way that they want them to be directed. The county manager takes direction from the Board of County Commissioners and then implements those policies, as directed by the board. So I've chunked it out in this way so we don't have like a 10-page long job description, but it does talk about general duties and responsibilities. Visionary leadership, public safety and emergency management, fiscal management, intergovernmental relations, economic development and growth, public engagement and communications, strategic planning and policy development, personnel management and employee development, infrastructure and capital improvement, and planning and zoning. So those are all areas, that we've worked through on onboarding thus far. And those are, a lot of the big areas that are, statutory requirements of county commissioners to do, and then the manager being able to help implement those, like with budget development, managing personnel, working on a communication strategy with the board, things like that. And I'll just leave it up there and stop talking so you guys can read.
I had something I wanted to add, or a question where I might find it. Is the I don't know how to say this, but other than understanding how the state legislature works or the state government works, I feel like that's just such a valuable asset to know, to be able to, if we're in a county manager position, what I've seen the huge benefit is that it allows the commissioners to take their heads out of day-to-day operations management and be able to liaise and advocate towards the state, and to have people in your positions who understand state advocacy and the legislative process just feels like a huge boon to me. So where do you think that would fall under the things that you've already said? Intergovernmental relations?
Probably there, and more clearly lay out organizations, state government relations,
Yes, policy development and compliance also refers to state, current, local, and state legislative changes and potential impact on county functions.
Okay.
But I can add, not everyone has to watch me wordsmith, but I can add. Okay.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, I'm wordsmithing now, but there's also this aspect to the, I think it's up towards the top, the serve as the primary liaison between county and other local, state, and federal agencies. I appreciate the liaising and the like partnership that the manager gets to be with the commissioners, but I also wonder if this might still be a little bit of carryover from when we were sussing out what the manager level was, or the manager position was, and I feel like commissioners should be the primary liaison to other agencies, governmental agencies in particular. This is such a huge position.
Yeah.
And that kind of leadership feels like it would be great to put back onto our elected officials as opposed to also putting on the county manager. What do you guys think about that?
Or like in conjunction with, you
Yeah,
know,
in
like,
partnership,
yeah.
just the primary liaison aspect feels kind of like, I think that elected officials should be liaising with our other elected officials.
Supportive liaison.
Yeah,
So serve as a
Support.
liaison or as a support?
support, serve as,
So like in collaboration
in
or
collaboration, sure.
with the commissioners?
Serve in collaboration as a liaison.
Serve as a liaison in collaboration,
Sure,
or is it?
yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
I'll add into language on state government relations.
also I don't wanna take up a lot of time, but I do love job descriptions. And some of these things felt like more department head things ultimately ultimately the position is managing all the department heads and their work. But when I think about like economic growth, now we have a specific department that does that. When I think communications, now we have a specific department that does that. And the county manager doesn't need to be the one holding that vision, but rather managing that those things get done. And if we're parsing out those two topics, then why wouldn't we parse out public works, et cetera? So my inclination would be to take those out, but to potentially take those out as two major things that they're focusing on, but maybe put it into a subcategory when it comes to managing departments' goals
Okay.
and ensuring that the BOCC's direction is, or vision is implemented through departments. You want,
You said for economic development and growth.
and the public engagement and communications.
Sure.
The rest of it seems like it should still live under the manager. Yeah,
Cause I can move those two pieces down then into,
overseeing,
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
and the project management also. Direction from BOCC to project management. We already have.
I like the public engagement section. We should put an exclamation point on that.
So we talked about essential functions. Similar to all the job descriptions of the county, right? The county retains the right to modify or change these duties. So this list isn't meant to be all-inclusive or restrictive, but these are the big areas that the job does. So overseeing county operations, project management, stakeholder communication, budget oversight and fiscal responsibility, regional collaboration, policy development and compliance.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Indeed.
I'd just like to chime in and say that this was developed, this isn't just Tim's vision, it was developed in collaboration with other, management staff and legal and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
It's been well vetted.
Yes, we've I drafted and then I sent it to HR and legal and finance for review. And after that, sent it to the entire leadership team for review and their feedback, so it does have the entire leadership team's feedback as well.
With how difficult this position is, what happens if we just don't have anyone who wants to fill those shoes? Yeah.
Find someone.
Okay.
We'll make Lauren do it.
Kind of a Swiss Army knife of tasks here.
So we talk about kind of the peripheral duties, right? Just, prepare and editing the reports, the memos, other written materials for stakeholders, for the board, all that kind of stuff. Resource for the public and county employees, answering questions and facilitating solutions. For the additional job functions, just had, is participate in special projects, committees, and working groups as requested by the board. Provide leadership and direction for additional initiatives as required. Supervisory. So I oversee the deputy county manager position, department heads and staff, while receiving that general direction from the board. So we've kind of talked about that, whether it's, you hear a complaint at Safeway, or through the development of the budget and budgeting for those FTE counts by department and office, setting those salary ranges, for all of that. And then also, using the policies adopted by the board, whether it's the employee handbook, our financial policies, P-card policy, travel policy, all of those, right, as guiding and source documents to direct the operations.
Beautiful.
The notice of emergency or disaster responsibilities, this is in all Lake County government position descriptions. This position is, I guess I've made it always on call, it doesn't always have to be on call, but needs to work closely with OEM, in the event of a disaster, whatever that may be. And then also providing that leadership there, and then in partnership, and we'll get into this when we do more of the OEM training, right, the role of the executive/policy committee, which is the Board of County Commissioners, the manager and the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So the requirements, spent a while thinking on this and what would set the organization up for success. I think someone who does have a bachelor's degree in public administration, business management, public policy, we're able to do this. I think a master's degree is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's more helpful is the experience, so the amount of time working in some kind of leadership role within government or public administration. The local government preferred, but even me, right, I came from the state, I was able to learn, county government is very different than the state, but you're able to learn those things. So I think somebody who does have that governmental experience is very important, understanding understanding statute and policies and the way things are written and being able to explain those technical things in a digestible way, or sometimes explaining a why behind something of like, well, I wanna do this, and be like, well, here's why, here are the consequences or that of that, so I think that kind of experience is very helpful. And then just, you know, adding in the equivalency, you never know who you got, you might have somebody with that combination of the education and experience and that training that be able to do that.
Yeah.
Talked about knowledge, skills, and abilities. So I think you're looking for someone, right, who is a leader, but who also has their ego in check. You know, they fulfill the decisions of the board. So when the board makes a decision, you know, there have been times in the past where the board makes a decision, I disagree with it, doesn't matter, I implement it, right? Board makes a decision I agree with, cool, I implement it. So it doesn't matter, right? But the role is also a person to provide context, provide, you know, a devil's advocate to the board sometimes, a thought partner to think through big issues impacting our community and things like that. So you're looking for leadership that way. Public administration expertise. So local government operations is very important, but I think if you do have someone with state level experience will be a benefit. Federal experience maybe, might have a lot of people not having jobs in the federal government soon, so you know, a few of those candidates. Fiscal stewardship is gonna be the big one, you need someone who is experienced in managing budgets and also in like managing big budgets. Like when I worked at the state, I was on a budget team that when I was there, the budget was $13 billion. So you need someone who has managed a multi-million-dollar budget before and it can handle that that kind of pressure. And also providing that fiscal accountability, which I think you will get if you're looking for someone who does have that government experience. Public engagement, right? Gotta be able to meet with the public, build relationships with stakeholders throughout our community, you know, region and state, and be able to make transparency in decision making. Project management, you know, a lot of the things that we do are complex and technical and overlapping over multiple departments. So being able to manage projects across multiple departments, and even if departments have different statutory missions, which happens. So being able to work through those. Crisis management, you know, disasters are local, and emergencies are local, so being able to have someone can manage an emergency situation, help coordinate resources, and help in those instances. And then, I mean, the physical activity and work environment, work in an office, lift up to 25 pounds, take the paper away from Patrick.
Are we discriminating when we say you can't be blind? You have to be able to see? Is that a legal?
These are, yeah, and I was gonna say, a lot of this isn't stuff, this is the standard counties template, the stuff that we need to include in all of our position descriptions.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to have those in there, because then if you have an applicant who says they need a reasonable accommodation, this is what helps drive the analysis of what reasonable accommodation may be able to be applied.
Okay.
Can I add, I think that what I've found has been also really helpful is to add language around, like, we see that this is a huge job description and you may feel like you might not have the qualifications, but please submit anyway. I think it really encourages a diverse applicant pool when we say, because especially women will self-select out of even applying when they look at the essential duties or the required things, even if they might be really strong in the applicant pool. So I'd love to add that.
Yes, happy to add that, and I agree with you on that. Something I was thinking about writing too, kind of like for the intro or the pitch, right, for the job description, is talking about where this position came from, the genesis of it, right? I was here for 3 years, the structure and foundation laid, you know, some of the big projects that are going on, one community project, like
Yeah.
letting folks know what they are walking into, but also I think tying it with that of like, you're not gonna find the, you know.
This is a unicorn.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and, but yes, anyway, so tying that into that intro statement.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes,
Is there anything that applicants will see about where they're applying at, like what this place is like? You know, like,
indeed,
you better be able
so,
to breathe pretty good,
right,
you're probably gonna wanna
so that'll be part
use your
of the.
sports repertoire.
Yeah, so that'll be part of the intro as well, we kind of have standard language of, right, like Lake County, Colorado sits at this elevation, this is like our economy, kind of those things, like recreation, what it is, and then really encouraging folks to Google that,
Yeah,
so they can see. And then that kind of ties into the process, anyway, so for the process for hiring, in your packet, you have a memo that outlines that.
Cause hiring the county manager isn't just hiring another department head or county employee, there's statutory requirements you have to comply with.
Mhm.
And so thank you, Chris, for providing the this is there, hold on. Okay.
Yeah, so essentially this just wanted to give you a brief one-page description of what the requirements are. The code it authorized the BOCC to create the position. In 1995, that was done by resolution, creating the position of county administrator, which is interchangeable with the term county manager. They don't have to, because of that being in place, you didn't have to do a new resolution for each time someone is hired into that position. There was a prior county administrator who was hired and left a resolution that was not done when they were hired. And then that's why the resolution wasn't done when Tim was hired to fill this role. Also, I included a report that might be helpful for you in terms of thinking about the roles and responsibilities of a county administrator, and that's how they're commonly referred to across the country. But there are, I think the report talks about they researched it, and there are like 115 different titles that were given that fall into that same category in terms of the scope of work that a county manager does. So just to bring that to your attention. And so then, in terms of the process.
Well, I think on that point as well, right, so with the annual resolution, you know, every year the board does appoint the county manager. The board also appoints the budget officer, which has been the county manager.
Right.
So when you embark on hiring the next person, you will update the annual resolution with that.
Right, and that's why it's done every year to satisfy that appointment. So essentially the actual process for it, the code provides that a search committee has to be created, and that, in terms of going through the process of collecting the applications, vetting the applications, and making recommendations to the commissioners as to potential finalists for that is essentially the role of the search committee. Once those recommendations are done, the commissioners can interview candidates, either the ones that are recommended, or if there are others that you wanna interview as well. You can do that in an executive session if you want. The only thing that changes is if you then decide to, name finalists, one or more finalists. Those finalists have to be, the names of those finalists have to be published before an offer can be made to your chosen candidate for, at least that period of 14 days in advance.
Mhm.
And so that you also have to think about, as we do with all the things when we're trying to publish things, we have a one time a week newspaper.
Mhm.
And so that's part of your publication too. So it ends up often being more than 14 days just because of the lead time. And typically the stuff that we send to the Herald to be published, I believe, Sandy left, they also put on their website, so it might actually get out there before the print one does, but still to allow that lead time. So you're probably, once your finalists are identified, you're probably looking at least 2 to 3 weeks before you can publicly announce your chosen candidate for that. The code, as you'll see, doesn't require you to do anything during that period of time. You just put the information out there. But it's within your discretion to decide if you want to do any further either interactions with the public, with the candidates, the finalists and that type of thing. So that's kind of, just the brief description of what is required for pursuing hiring the county manager.
And as I've been thinking through this process, and just so the board is aware and everyone is aware, right? So when you apply for a government job in Colorado, doesn't matter if it's local or state, right? If you have an interview panel, you ask the same questions to all the candidates in the same way, right? You take notes on it, you do that becomes part of public record, so it is quotable. So if somebody does apply and they don't get passed along to the finalists, they say, well, why didn't I make it? And then they can look at the notes, they can look, perhaps there's a grading rubric based on the competencies we went through or things that the board is looking for in that. So in thinking through this, I guess I would suggest, right, for that search committee, so I think we need to establish the search committee and then the timeline that the board wants this position to be open for people to apply for it. And then from there, we need to develop the interview questions that will be asked by the search committee and then I think by the board. And then kind of just like that general hiring timeline. My suggestion for that search committee, if the board is okay with it, would be myself, the county attorney, and a representative from the board, so one of you. And then after that initial round of interviews is done, then commissioners have individual interview times with that. The leadership team has time to spend with those candidates. Would be like kind of like a larger group interview based on our project-based teams. And then from there determining who the finalist or ists are, and then making that public notice.
We get to check references, background, talk to their former
Yes.
employees, and is that public or we do that private?
So for Colorado HR law, when I call and ask for your references, Commissioner, basically all I can or call your reference, your former employer, basically all I can ask is Matt eligible for rehire?
Oh.
Now, since you are hiring a public position and a public person, you can always look at their local newspaper. You can always look at those other things about their record, but references will be required. And a reference check, background check, all of that will be required as part of the hiring process.
So the reference is you're only allowed to ask that reference?
Well, you can confirm employment, the dates of employment, the position held, and whether they're eligible for.
That's it?
They can say whatever they want.
Now, they can, I was gonna say, and what I typically recommend is if you call someone and that's all they can give you, most often, or if they call us and that's all we can get, most often, you can say, you know, we're happy to provide additional information upon a written release from the candidate, because they can waive that confidentiality, if you will, and authorize their either current or former employer to provide additional information. And so sometimes if you have a candidate and that's requested and you don't get that authorization, that might be telling.
Mhm.
So something you'd wanna explore about that candidate.
What do y'all think about the hiring committee? How do you want that to look?
Just off the top of my head, I think maybe Andy, because he's the chair. That's the only reason.
Do you want anybody else on it though? Like they suggested county manager, current county manager, county attorney, and one representative. I know we
Yeah,
can't
and
have our
that's-
HR person because she's getting married and going on honeymoon, but we can also establish whoever we want.
Yep, she might be back, I mean, once we put the this is something where it may take us a few
Minutes,
weeks to
yeah.
develop
Yeah.
the list of the candidates who
Yeah.
meet the initial qualification. And part of it, HR will be involved in terms of also not wanting to waste your time screening to make sure the applicants have the basic stuff that you're asking for.
Would it be appropriate or inappropriate to have Lauren on that committee?
That's up to Lauren.
I know.
She might be a candidate,
I might
Oh, you
be
might
an
be a
applicant.
candidate. Okay,
so inappropriate.
so that's totally inappropriate.
Yes, if I decide not, then I would like to be part of it,
Yes.
We can figure out the details of this too, moving forward.
Yeah,
So
but that's just something for y'all to think about, who you would like to be on. Obviously, it can't, for the initial screening, you know, committee, it can't be two commissioners.
Right.
Because then it would have to be a public process.
And then before it gets to all three of us, is Andy allowed to share his thoughts on all the candidates, or how would we?
We
Like,
would-
I'm afraid that it's gonna get narrowed
Yeah.
down. By the time it gets to us, I'm afraid it's gonna get narrowed down and I won't have seen.
So what we'll do is create a rubric, and this is what I do when I hire department directors, so creating a rubric if you have multiple candidates. So you create a rubric with the interview panel, so you have your interview questions, then you know, based on their experience, education levels, all of that. Essentially you grade them or give them a numerical grade, and so there's a bit more of like, it's subjective, but it's a bit more of an objective way to do that. So I think all of that information would be passed along to the board, and so you understand the rationale of the interview, or the initial hiring committee's recommendations.
And why some people potentially didn't make it on further.
Yes.
We would be able to see who applied
Right.
and what they got scored as. So that would be open to us where we could, if we were like, I thought that person was incredibly qualified, why didn't they make it to our finalists? We could see what happened.
But it only comes to Elsa and I and Andy when they're final, when there's a panel of finalists.
Not necessarily, no, it's the recommendations of the folks
Oh, I
that
see.
may be finalists. And
Okay.
so, as Els was saying, I would suggest we do make available to you who has applied, if there's others you want to review. So keep in mind, the committee brings forth recommendations.
Right.
Not, this is who you will interview as finalists, so.
Right. Andy, are you down to serve on that committee?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then it would be great if Zoe could be on it, if that's, if
When's
that
she-
fits
she
with her
done?
timeline.
She's going right now, or?
She
Leaves
leaves on
Friday?
Friday
Right,
or
well, she's not
Thursday.
be back by the time this
Right.
all
Yeah.
goes down.
She's, I think, since maybe 2.5 weeks or something should be out, but otherwise she should be back. And my
And we'll give her
suggestion
something
is,
else to put on her list.
given the scope of this position, you know, that's part of what Tim had mentioned, you need to decide how long you want to post it. Technically, under Colorado law, for positions like this, you don't have to post it for a certain period of time externally. If, it just depends on what type of an applicant pool you wish to get. It's required to be posted internally, and then you know, it's up to you as to how long you want to leave the applications open to try and attract those candidates. And I'm sorry, you all might know, I know that Lake County typically uses certain platforms to push out, you know, positions like this. So you are likely to get candidates who don't currently live in our area or potentially in Colorado.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, so.
It'll be posted on our website.
So it'll be posted on our website, and then the job recruitment posting platform we use posts to LinkedIn, Monster, Indeed. We'll also, you know, put it in our local paper, probably the Summit paper and Chafee papers. I will post it on my listserv, the Association of Colorado City and County Managers, and then also on ICMA, which is the International City and County Manager Association.
It'll go on the county attorney ones too.
Yeah, and then I'll share the opportunity with my listserv as well.
Okay. We can conduct interviews via Zoom.
Yes.
Yes, oh yeah.
Yep. So if you look at a timeline, just pulled up the calendar for you, so dependent on where the commissioners are on the job description, you know, we can get everything cleaned up and post it today. I just need to know how long you want it open till. And so if we post it today or tomorrow, you know, 3 weeks would put it being open, would put it at February 25th or 26th. Then, you know, interviews can start right after that.
Yeah, we gotta balance between sifting through applicants and making sure we get someone sorted before we move on. So I think you've got a better mind for what that time frame would look like than I do, sitting here in this chair.
I would suggest leaving it open then to close of business on February 25th. You know, from there, as applicants come in and HR screens them and they get passed along to us, I think we can do, for the interview committee, we can do further vetting. I think by probably the end of the week of the 17th, we'll have a good idea of candidates that we will want to extend an interview to. So then starting that week of the I won't be here.
It's kinda close,
Yeah, I won't be there the week of the 24th. But interviews can start the week of March 3rd, those can be knocked out.
When'd you last day, Tim?
24th.
It'd be nice if there was some overlap, you could sit in your office for a week. Or he or she could sit in your office for a week.
If we close it,
So unlikely. I agree, and it's just so unlikely that we'll get that.
Really?
The time frame for it, and it depends
It's
on
real
the
tight.
candidate that's chosen.
Yeah.
If they are currently employed, they're
Right.
gonna have to give notice to their current employer.
And then potentially move.
Yeah, so and you could do somewhat, you know, of a rolling process in terms of as they come in, if they're folks that qualify, as Tim's saying, they could do the initial interview, so you're not waiting to get everybody in and do.
Right.
So you can do the basic vetting of the folks as they come in.
Yeah.
perfect.
And perhaps, you know,
What about are we deciding who's on the hiring committee? We are deciding on that today, aren't we?
So that it's outlined in the packet, kind of that search committee, I think,
Right.
yeah, search.
Yeah, if you guys are okay with that, so if it's the chair, myself and Chris. And then from there, I think we need to define what it looks like for the full board to be able to do interviews, if you wanna do those in executive session. If you wanna have time one-on-one before coming to the full board, so you can each feel out a candidate individually. And then getting feedback, I think, as well from the leadership team will be important.
Is it worth having somebody from the leadership team on the hiring committee?
I think so,
I mean, I think so too,
Yes,
sorry.
yeah,
Who would
right,
you recommend,
yes,
excuse me, from the leadership team?
I
Candace?
I like that idea.
Yeah, would you
I might
be?
be in the
Oh, she,
Oh,
okay.
dang it, okay.
But if I'm not, then I will definitely
Yes.
join you.
Respect.
But if the board
Love
does,
this for us.
if the board does want that, I do have my leadership team meeting this Thursday. So we'll talk about this with them, and I can get a volunteer who doesn't want the job.
Yeah.
To be on the search committee with us, if that,
But
And
again,
maybe
I
some more
think
diverse
HR, yeah,
Perspectives too feels important to me. Like if we're pulling from the leadership team, to have some different perspectives would be the most valuable reason I feel like to turn to them.
okay,
So pretty much whoever has the least in line with everyone else, I know it's a weird way to say it, but like.
Yeah, opposing views.
Opposing views, yeah, somebody to mix up the conversation of that
sure,
that committee would be great.
okay,
Good point.
Sure.
and I can think of that, so if we do wanna set, so if the board does wanna set it as the chair, grant manager, attorney, and then let's just say a member of staff, cause perhaps there's a
Sure.
member of CLT who has someone who would bring that perspective.
Do we need non-number?
no, it's not, cause they're
Oh,
not
okay,
really
okay.
voting,
A
you'll
recommendation.
vet everybody.
Yeah,
Y'all are doing the work for us.
Yeah, there's a million different ways to go about this, but, we're under serious time crunch, like, to do this the best way we can with, as fast as we can. So I think that all sounds good, and we need to put our heads down and start running, charging at this right away.
Do you guys feel good with the job description?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. So I can work on cleaning that up and getting that posted.
Cool. Alright, the job description, is there anything else to discuss on that, either, any of the commissioners?
Mhm.
Okay, is there a motion on the table for agenda item 10?
Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to approve the county manager job description.
Alrighty,
I'll second the motion.
excellent, call to a vote,
Aye.
aye, that motion passes on a vote, that is unanimous. Excellent, alright, how's everyone holding up?
I would love a quick water break. If
Is that, am I allowed to do that? Call for,
2 items left, so you'll got plenty of time, if you wanna go on and take a quick break.
Yeah,
you can do
let's-
that.
let's go ahead and take a quick break,
Thank you, Chair.
yes.
Also breathe some fresh air.
Yeah, this room, it's either freezing cold or like 1,000 degrees.
Do y'all have those things up there, the.
Yeah, we So, Tracy get settled in here and get back on this. Okay. Alright, everybody good?
Mm-hmm,
All
one
right.
second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, we're returning from break to continue this regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. We just finished up with agenda item number 10, moving on to agenda item number 11. Agenda item 11 is calendar and agenda review led by Sandra Pettis.
Yay.
Sandra, please come up, introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, commissioners. My name is Sandra Pettis. I'm the executive administrative assistant. And, oops, sorry, I'll find. Go over the calendar first for next week. Alright, starting on February 10th, Monday. Looks like we have the Lake County Forest Health Council meeting from 1 to 3. Planning Commission meeting from 4 to 6. And Lake County School District Board of Education has their regular meeting from 5:30 to 8.
And I will ask Harmony, John with Conservation District, who facilitates the Forest Health Council, to add you all to those invites.
Great.
The housing lottery is also at 4
On Monday.
on Monday.
Yep, I have that on my list here to add. I was gonna confirm that with Jackie, but after our discussion today, then yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put that on there to add.
It's during the planning commission, which I think is the planning commission's whole agenda, isn't it? Or am I mistaking that with the housing authority?
That's different.
Yeah,
Does the
it's
house,
different.
never mind, it's not, it's gonna be different, excuse me. We can't go to both.
Okay, moving on to Tuesday, the 11th, you have your morning work session from 9 to noon. The afternoon work session from 1 to 4. Lake County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting is from 6:30 to 8. And I believe this is still on, the Lake County Tourism Panel, monthly meeting from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m.
You're on the 11th. I think Adam moved that. You need to double check with Adam.
Okay.
But the tourism panel moved it.
Then on the 12th, Wednesday, we have community coffee. Now, I spoke with, can't remember who's putting this out. They said they were gonna add you to the invites, but I did not see it on your calendar. So I will put another temporary one on there and reach back out to them.
We got one for this week.
Yeah, I was connected with him and I have not heard back from him yet, so.
Sandra, can I ask a clarifying?
Yeah.
For tomorrow, it says it's an EDC coffee at 8:30. you know what that is?
Tomorrow on the 5th?
Yeah.
Oh, that is Lake County Community. What do I call it?
What's the community coffee
Yeah,
is the
but
one
I-
at 8:30.
But yeah, it's the
Why does it look like the Leadville Lake County EDC?
yeah, LCC
Acronym.
EDC.
It's just a different.
That was the one from Jeff that Jeff first sent to me when I was hired.
Okay.
Oh, that invite,
Yes.
right.
But it's supposed to just be community coffee, that's what that
Yes.
is?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
These I will also add you to, this is something that Sarah liked to post publicly. The Arkansas Basin Roundtable, they have their executive board meeting from 10:30 to noon, and then they have their roundtable regular meeting from 12:30 to 3.
Will you,
We've got Bryce on these, right?
yep, see back from vacation?
Yeah.
Okay, will you
Bryce?
check with Bryce that these are the right dates?
Okay,
Otherwise, if Bryce is still out, ask me, cause I know I have it somewhere in my email.
okay.
And then for the, cause we're on the 12th, did Nell Wareham from Climax get you on that invite, Commissioner Bullock? Did Nell Wareham follow up with anything from Climax with you?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
I need to schedule him 101. I'm accepting things I'm not supposed to be accepting.
We talked about setting up something like that with Liz,
That's awesome.
Yes.
a work session where we can learn how to
It'd be
best
nice to go
utilize.
one-on-one too, she goes through stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah, we can ask her to slow down.
But I'm also, should I be putting, like, blocking out things that I won't be available for, just so you guys know?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Doctor's appointments,
Yeah,
powder days, ski days on
and we'll,
Yes,
after Sandra's done, cause we'll talk about that, cause I have a yes to that, and then I have a proposal for a couple other things
Okay.
for calendaring going forward.
And then, do you know if they're still doing airport advisory board meetings on this day?
I do not have it on my calendar,
Okay,
we've asked Michael.
I will, cause that's just a reoccurring thing on here, so. Alright, Thursday the 13th. Or morning work session from 10 to noon. There's also the CCAT, Transportation and Fiscal Reform Committee meeting from 11:30 to 1:30.
And I wonder on this one, commissioners, Commissioner also wanted to go to the CCAT. Do you mind moving that? Who do we have on the 13th?
So the morning one is the animal shelter discussion.
Can we move it earlier? Cause right now it has us work starting at 10. Can we just move the work session earlier?
Yeah, if we did. Would it work if we started it at 9:30, just moved it up a half an hour?
Yeah.
And then she could still do this.
Yeah, if everybody's alright with that, we can move the work session earlier.
Do we need to put it at 9 so that there's time for you to decompose between events?
That'd be lovely, but I don't, I can chug water.
We can say 9:15 if you want.
Let's do
Can we
9.
just do 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, and then there's the afternoon work session for the communications training from 1 to 3.
Can we push that to 1:30? Cause CCAT goes till 1:30.
1:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, there's also the CC4CA Policy Committee meeting, is happening from 1 to 2:30. Leadville Sanitation District Board of Directors meeting happening from 3:15 to 5.
Are we members of the Colorado Communities for Climate Action?
Yes, we are.
So
And
no
I
one's
can-
gonna be able to sit in on that.
Can we move, is it possible we could just move these work sessions to Wednesday when we have like nothing? So that we can attend these advocacy groups?
Let's go Wednesday.
Pretty big Tetris puzzle here.
I can see why this is part of our weekly meeting.
The afternoon one, I'd have to get with Sammy, because that would affect her schedule.
Okay.
I think, cause
That's a big move, switching the entire day. Can
I
you just
know.
move the time slots a little bit to allow for, or if you wanna attend something, we still have quorum.
Totally, yeah,
Or we don't need quorum for work session, sorry.
no,
but the afternoon, on the 13th is with, Sammy and Liz on the comm strategy.
Yeah, and I think Sammy has a thing on Wednesday.
that's fine, I'm
With
just
Claire.
asking,
Yeah,
it's okay if it doesn't work.
I knew there was something. I remember thinking that.
But we could, perhaps for the afternoon commissioners, we can move that till Friday morning.
Sammy doesn't work on Fridays.
Alright, she knows it, okay. The 11th is Board of Health.
Yes,
Okay.
that one's full with,
Yeah.
all that training.
Okay.
Can we just keep it for today and then maybe if we have policy committees for state organizations moving forward, we just try and move away from Thursdays
Right.
or something like that?
Yeah,
Or maybe on, I think on Thursday, commissioners, we could move it, the start time to 2:30 or 3, and if that works for you guys, if you wanna go to CCAT
CC4CA.
or CC4C,
Either
yeah,
one.
that one.
So a 3 to 5 work session on the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we move that one to 3 to 5.
Works for me if it works for you, Matt.
Okay, I'll double check
I'll make
with
it
Liz
work.
and Sammy
I'm
and just make
totally
sure.
lost right now.
Okay.
Just tell me when to be here. I'll be-
Friday's gonna be long and kinda staggered, unless you're going to,
So Friday or Thursday?
This is Thursday.
Thursday.
I mean, sorry, Thursday.
Yep. Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're also confused.
yeah, because if you're doing, so you'll have the morning work
You're in good
session, CCAT, CC4CA.
Yes.
And then the afternoon work session.
yes,
So I will double check with Sammy and Liz and make sure 3 to 5 works for them for the comms training. And
Do we get invites for the rec advisory board meetings?
It should be, no, we will get those on your calendar.
Okay.
these meetings are so funny, we go in the morning, come in the out in the afternoon, it's like going to a daytime movie. You know, you think it's nighttime when you get out, it's okay,
It's like being in school, you know, with no windows.
yeah,
It would be nice to have a window.
what is it?
Oh,
okay, and then
depends on
Friday
how
the
much it's gonna cost the
14th,
taxpayers.
You could just
Twin Lakes Community
Hazmat
Coffee
seats.
is all you have going on Friday.
Couple angle grinders, concrete cutters, we could rent that stuff from the Leadville rentals.
I'm happy to put my money into it. Window
Tax
that
write-off.
opens.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, in the summertime, open a window in here,
Stop, Andy.
I need a couple sledgehammers.
Same, I'm available for this,
Okay.
birthday party.
Back and make sure we're not knocking down a structural
The
wall.
OCC does their own renovation.
Saving the taxpayer money.
I mean, I was gonna go down and replace the tiles on the skate pool, so, you know, that would have been,
Their own planning and development department pulls permits because
Stress relief, 101.
Okay, so agendas for next week's work sessions, on Tuesday, the 11th at 9 AM. You'll have your Lake County Board of Health meeting and statutorily required training.
That'll be with Julia and Kelsey, is someone from the state coming?
Yes,
Oh, there.
CDPHE will be here.
Okay.
With that.
Okay,
And I'll just keep an eye on your inbox, I'll be sending you some information so you're prepared for that training.
Thank you.
And then in the afternoon, we'll have Lake County Community Health Program meeting and overview of state and federal policies and budget changes impacting the Lake County Department of Human Services and Public Health Agency. By Laura Cruz and Julia Jones.
Is Melanie's fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah, anything extra like that you want me to add to that? Shoot me a chat. Okay. With names or whatever. Alright, and then on the 13th, we'll change these times, but the AM work session, you have your discussion and overview of the intergovernmental agreement between Lake County government and the city of Leadville for the animal shelter. And the afternoon will be commissioner introduction to Lake County Government Communications Plan for review and feedback, led by Sammy, our communications manager.
So fun.
Yeah.
Cool, an introduction to, okay.
So that is what next week is looking like. And I will work on these invites and nailing down time changes on the work sessions.
Would you two be available tomorrow afternoon for a work session with Lake County nonprofits? Since we didn't have any other presentations during our training.
Didn't we have Christy Galarza trying to set up something like that? Isn't she a
Yeah,
consultant
but
for all of them, or?
No, that's for like a specific grant.
Okay.
That's not like
That's
an
Jen or?
Gem Consulting,
Okay.
yeah. Just wondering if you'd have time tomorrow afternoon.
And we have been working with BAG, Build a Generation, and C4 Cloud City Conservation Center
Yeah.
for them to come. I think we can work with Full Circle and the Advocates as well, and then if there are others, Blue Elements, Cloud City Mountain Sports, Wheelers.
The County Community Foundation.
Is there specific ones you'd like, cause that's kind of short notice, isn't it?
We just need 24 hours.
I mean, short notice for all 48 of them, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, I think they reached out asking if we had any time for like an hour presentation, and I don't think it's everybody, I think it's just no 501c3 101, not like everybody's individual presentations, is my impression. And if you don't have time, I get it, I just thought I'd wing it by your schedule today.
Can we put it on for next week?
Yeah. Where, since we're with Sandra now, where should we?
Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment again at 4 o'clock tomorrow, so.
Awesome.
Let me look at the calendar.
So we do have, I guess the work session with Sammy will be 3 to 5. How long do you think?
I don't know, I think half an hour?
Can we stick it in a work session?
I think you've got some extra time on Monday the 10th. Looks fairly open.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday. Big day.
Tuesday is a big day.
Yeah.
Wednesday, morning-ish.
Wednesday's wide open for me. What do you guys?
I think Matt has the climax thing in the afternoon, that's at 1.
Maybe Wednesday, you guys wanna go to coffee, so maybe 10 or 11?
Yeah, that'd be good.
11?
Wednesday at 11?
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay.
Isn't Tamara, we have something with Tamara in that?
go to Summit
What?
What's, we're talking about Wednesday the 12th?
Yeah.
I don't have Tamara Pogo.
And this is
Where
for
are you
what,
on?
Tim?
That
Yeah,
looks
which
way
one
more
do you-
populated than,
Do
They,
you have
For
other
nonprofits?
calendars to
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it might on somebody else's calendar.
you're on Lauren's calendar.
I was like, dang, you're
Like, it's
busy,
not
dude.
working. That's okay.
Where does it,
Take your time, Matt.
where does it say that? Oh, I see.
You can choose, you can unclick hers. Nice.
You can join, so yeah, right? It's all this stuff.
So Wednesday morning look good to you, Matt?
We did Wednesday at 11.
Sure.
Okay, and then this will be what's our language commissioner also?
For
Who's
your
presenting?
What is it?
Or yeah, what?
I think it's
Introduction
just
to,
a nonprofit 101 is what I was asked if they could do.
So
Who will
they're
be the
coming,
presenters?
It's Emily with C4, Adelia with Full Circle, Jenny with the Advocates, and maybe Carly with BAG. It depends, I think it depends for all of them on their availability.
Okay, so and it's just a 501c3 overview?
Yeah,
do we want to hold off on making that official yet until we hear back from them?
yeah, totally. We could
Yeah, I'll
pencil
get
in
it on there just as a
Yeah.
A hold?
placeholder. Yeah.
Okay.
and maybe John McMurtry with the community fund. Thanks, team.
Right,
Okay,
we're good on calendars?
Yes.
Alright, move on to the consent agenda. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. I said agenda a lot of times.
I do have just two things for the commissioners, so on the consent agenda number 4, the designation of the representative to the county health pool, which is Zoe Bergstrom, our HR director. And then I have reviewed all of the minutes that were not ready from the previous board. So all of those ones in 2024, and then their last meeting on January 13th, and I think we'll use the same language that Cindy had put on those other previous minutes from 2024, you know, wasn't our meeting. Please check the YouTube for official or I don't know, verbatim
Yeah.
language you use, but that'll be the language on those minutes.
When do we get our last, Tracy, when do we get our special meeting minutes? Meeting minutes from our special meeting that we held last. Like how often?
Just depend on when Cindy has time to do it.
Okay, so there's not like a regular, this is when this happens?
God, no.
Okay, great. Thanks, expectations are set. Agenda.
I only see 2 things in the consent agenda packet. Is there a definitive list?
You should have, let's see what is in there.
It should be the
It should be-
January veterans report.
Right here.
With the county health pool and the veteran service officer report.
Yes.
And then those minutes are in the minutes.
I sent put them all together in one email, just to make sure that you guys had all of them. Well, the ones that Tracy had sent, the ones that Cindy sent were in a separate email that Cindy sent.
Okay.
You.
And then the payroll reports, and AP are in those, are in the separate folders, but we will pull those now into the agenda so you can see them.
Okay, anything we need to discuss about the consent agenda? No? Okay,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
alright, let's call that to a vote.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes on a vote count of 3. You did it. Alright. Oh yeah, there it is, right on the form in front of my face. Okay, that's all the stuff on the consent agenda.
Refreshing.
Scroll down, Andrew, scroll down.
You're doing great.
Hey, we're getting better every day, you know? Okay, does that conclude our regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners today? Alright, well, it's 1:25 PM, February 4th. And we are going to conclude our regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. Thanks everyone for attending, thanks staff for all your input and help.
Thank you, Chair.
That was part of the consent agenda.
Okay.